2 years ago, I ranked every single God of War game in the series, and that video hit 290,000 views, had a bunch of agreements, a bunch of disagreements, and as you could imagine on the internet, a bunch of arguments. Kind of like this valid argument right here.
What? Bro, what are you talking about, man?
But since then, I've platinumed every single mainline God of War game. That includes the entire trilogy and the Norse saga. And I've beaten every single spin-off in the series, including the new Sons of Sparta. And with all of that said, my rankings have changed a lot. So in this ranking, I'm not going based off of nostalgia or based off of childhood memory like I did in the last tier list. This is strictly after replaying and platinuming all of the mainline games and 100% completing every single game in the series, including the spin-offs, other than Betrayal, because I have no idea how I could even access that game without putting 100,000 viruses on my computer. So with everything fresh in my memory, just going based off of combat, bosses, story, replay value, and overall impact on the series, there's definitely games that the community is overrating, and there's definitely games that the community is not mentioning enough. So without further ado, let's start off where the whole series began. Alright, so God of War 1, this is where it all started, and right off the bat, we all know this game obviously aged phenomenally. The story was amazing for a PS2 game. Like, the storytelling, I think, was just perfect. It was a simple story. You have to kill the God of War because the gods are ordering you to, and if you do it, the gods will wipe you of your memories, and obviously those memories being a maniac and killing your family and stuff like that. You start the game as a hopeless, broken Kratos, and throughout the game, it kind of unfolds why he is who he is, why his skin is so pale, how he got the blades, why he hates Ares, why he's, working for the gods and everything. It starts you off with a broken man, and then it takes you back and it kind of unfolds everything as you go. Obviously, we all know the gameplay was essentially timeless. It set the standard for the whole genre. The environment was awesome. The level design was cool. It had some goofy, hell was just mad weird in this game. It looked like a Wipeout obstacle course, but it was still really cool, man. You know what I mean? Overall, the game is great. My opinion hasn't changed much. So in my last video where I ranked all the games, I did put God of War 1 in Titan. I'm actually going to knock it down to Spartan though. And that's not really because my opinion has changed on this game. It's really mostly because the competition coming up is steep, man, and I don't think it really compares in scale to the games we're about to talk about. So just let me cook, and I think you'll understand, because I think people are probably going to tweak out about that, me putting God of War in Spartan. But all right, let's move on to the next game. We're only 2 games in and we've already hit a cult classic. This is a lot of people's favorite God of War. When the conversation is being had of the best God of War, you will frequently hear God of War 2. You just will. It is not my favorite, but I totally see where people are coming from. This game, the scale of this game was insane. When I think of this game though, I think of 2 things: the environment and the bosses. This game just perfectly displayed Greek mythology. The Colossus of Rhodes, you had Zeus, you had Pegasus, you had Icarus. There was just it was like when I think of God of War 2, I just think of variety. It was just such a flavorful game. And it didn't even feel rushed. Like, usually when games are jam-packed with a bunch of variety and stuff like that, usually something has to give, and at some point in the game, something feels rushed. But God of War 2 did not feel rushed. It was flavorful. The pacing was good. The cutscenes were awesome. I loved this animation style. Why did we ever move on from this animation style? It was just the complete Greek era package. I don't even need to say anything about the combat. It was God of War 1, but better in every single way. With all of that being said, it is not moving from my last ranking though. I'm going to keep it in Titan tier, and this was already controversial to begin with, but I do not care because it's my list, and I can do whatever I want. And if you don't like it, then just comment. I don't know, just comment that you disagree. But yeah, I'm going to keep it in Titan because there's just games that I'm telling you in this series, they're bangers. Alright, so just off the bat, Chains of Olympus, it's not the most impressive God of War. All right, we'll just come right out the gate and say it just like that. But I need you to picture this. It's 2008. Everybody has a PSP. Everybody who plays PlayStation at least has a PSP. And boom, a God of War drops on a handheld. God of War, the hit game on PlayStation 2, you could play it anywhere. You could play it on the bus. You could play it on a road trip. You could play it in the airport. God of War in your hands. It's violent. It's cool. The story, there's a real story there. I don't know why Persephone got Kratos exactly where she needed him and then just went on to tell him her whole plan.
Once the pillar is destroyed, the world will revert into chaos.
Like, you literally got the dude exactly where you need him, and then you just spoiled your whole plan, and then, like, why? But anyway, I don't care about that. It's a fun game. It's cool. It was good for its time. Playing it now, though, with a desensitized brain that wants insane boss fights and all this stuff, it feels smaller, but maybe that's just my brain. The combat is good. The abilities and gear are okay. You know, considering what it is, the tech limitations and everything, it's a good game. The final boss was pissing me off, though. I don't know why I struggled with the final boss. Wait. What the fuck? I'm trying to pause the fucking game, bro. Oh my Jesus Christ. There are some memorable things in it. The abandon your daughter quick time event and stuff like that, man. It's a memorable game. There's things about this game that people remember. People still talk about it. It was a PSP game. It was their first PSP game. And it just had the basic God of War formula. These days, it doesn't really scale, I don't think. I don't really think it ages that well, but it was good for its time. It's not bad. It just doesn't compare to what we're going to be talking about. So I'm going to keep this in Mortal tier. I had it in Mortal tier last time. We're going to keep it there. And I think I said what needs to be said about this game. It's okay. It's not bad. It was good for its time. Ladies and gentlemen, we have the best, I don't care what your opinion is, the best Greek God of War right here, man. This game, bro. This was also a lot of people's favorite, and it always goes back and forth with God of War 2. I'll say it, though. It is the best Greek God of War. The music, the rage, the testosterone, the story, combat, and the weapons, the bosses. Everything about this game is amazing. It is past the test of time better than any Greek game. It is the most talked about Greek God of War game, and how it didn't blow up my PS3 is insane. It was optimized so well. Like, just look at this jump from God of War 2 to God of War 3. I mean, the technological differences obviously are huge, and I mean, just the hype. I mean, this game started exactly where God of War 2 left off. Exactly where it left off. You don't see that very often. And just starting exactly where you left off from God of War 2 and just mowing through all of Olympus. There are very few games that are as immersive as this and just as hype. I could play this game for the rest of my life. I don't even know how many times I've beat this game, but it's amazing, man. You cannot deny God of War 3. Everything about this game had just the best in the Greek era. It had the best design for Kratos. It had the best boss fights. I would say the only thing that this game maybe didn't have over God of War 2 was the environment. God of War 2 had, like I said before, was very flavorful. There was a lot of variety in terms of the environment, a lot of exploration. In God of War 3, you were just kind of confined to Mount Olympus a little bit. Obviously not fully only in Mount Olympus, but there wasn't as much of a variety in environment. But I don't even care, because everything else is just so blown, like it just blows everything out of the water. It doesn't even matter. Not much more needs to be said, man. We already know where this is going. We have our first God tier, same as I had it in my last video. We're keeping it. It ain't moving. It doesn't deserve anything less than that. I don't care what anybody says. Going back to the PSP, we have an absolute sleeper. I had this in Spartan last time. I definitely have it higher now. I was going straight off of memory, so I didn't know this game as much as I thought, and I did it dirty, I'm not gonna lie. Keep in mind, this is a PSP game, and you sunk Atlantis. You go to Ares' tomb, and you destroy Ares' statue. You fight a younger memory of Kratos. You fight Kratos' mom, and you have to kill her. You go to Sparta. You go to the realm of the dead and fight Thanatos with Deimos. The scale of this game for a PSP game was insane, and the story was brilliant. It was literally amazing. That I always knew, but it was better than I thought. To me, it legit felt like a blend of God of War 2 and like God of War 3 on a PSP. You start off in Atlantis, which is just sick. I don't even really remember being in Atlantis before I played this, so like I that whole chunk of the game was not in my memory when I graded it last time and put it in Spartan. If you have not played this game, I highly recommend you play it, whether you emulate it legally, of course, because you know we can't do illegal things, but whether you emulate it or you have a PSP, if you, I don't know, do what you got to do. Play this game. It is so good, and I'm putting it in Titan tier. I am going to put it below God of War 2 because God of War 2 is God of War 2. You got to put some respect on God of War 2. But yeah, I mean, Ghost of Sparta, man, it is a game not to be slept on. So play this game. I don't care how, just play it. It is brilliant. Oh boy, here we go. So, God of War Ascension, to many people, the worst game in the series. I defended this game a lot in my last tier list video. I gave it the benefit of the doubt, but man, that was just going straight off memory. I replayed it, and yeah, I'm sorry, this game was worse than I thought. It's still not objectively bad. It's still badass at times. There's really epic boss fights and really epic moments, but holy shit, does this game have its lows. It has good visuals, which I wasn't even able to enjoy because I had to cloud stream this game. If I tried to emulate this on my laptop or something, it would sound like a PS4. Combat was weird. He kept throwing this teep kick, like a Sean Strickland teep kick. If you know, you know. It was a big downgrade from God of War 3. That was the big mistake, is dropping something like this after the hype of God of War 3. Abilities were lazy. It was just like elemental infusions inside the blades. Like my blades would shoot electricity like Zeus. My blades would shoot souls like Hades. Like I went from stealing the god's weapons in the previous game to now getting these cookie cutter little colorful blades of chaos. It was a downgrade, man. The pacing was so bad. It was flashback, present, flashback, present. I was 2 hours into a flashback and I forgot I was even in one. I could go on and on and on. Last thing I'll say about this game, it was so freaking hard at times too. Like it was not even a satisfying like Souls-like hard. It was just annoying. Fight back! Fight back! I was genuinely tempted to throw this in death tier, but I can't find myself to do it despite everything because there were really high. Actually, I'm gonna just throw it in death tier, honestly. It just wasn't good. They really messed up with this one, and I believe they learned from their mistakes. I don't really think they're ever gonna mess up this bad again. I'm about to glaze this game so bad. This is my favorite God of War in the series. It's taken me a little while to figure out what my favorite is, but at this point in time, I could say 2018 is my favorite in the series. From the reveal to the build-up and mystery and the absolute delivery, they nailed the game from head to toe. The cliffhanger ending, it was the best story in gaming, the best executed story in gaming. There's so many layers. It was probably so hard to come up with a story for a soft reboot like this. They reinvented the combat and it was satisfying. It was awesome. It's not every God of War fan's cup of tea, but you cannot deny it is smooth and satisfying. And the environment and exploration, the post-game content, you gotta platinum this game. It's like once you finish the main quest, you have a whole other game to complete in just side quests. I'm just going to go ahead and slap this one down right here because the next game is about to be a full-on yap session. I'm going to make this quick. We all know this game. It's going in God tier. It's going above God of War 3. I'm sorry, Greek fans. It's just how it has to be, man. Alright, this is going to be the longest segment of the video because there's so much to talk about. And one of the reasons why there's so much to talk about is because there's just so much content to be talked about in this game. The main story is long. There's hours of side missions, side content, and there's a DLC. But here's the thing. I'm more of a quality over quantity kind of guy, and that is where I feel Ragnarok got knocked down a little bit. I'm going to try not to just obliterate this game because it is, in my opinion, you could consider this game a masterpiece. It is really freaking good. Alongside God of War 3, it's probably my favorite opening in the series. That fight against Thor was just pure hype. I was so ready to see that. And then the pacing just gets weird. It's like the beginning is super hype, and then if you compare it to the Thor fight at the end, it's just not as hype. It was cool, it had its moments, but it was not as hype. It feels like when they were developing this game, they put their all into the beginning, and then by the end, they were like, shit, we gotta go. We gotta get this game out. And it just felt like they were scrambling a little bit and had to rush towards the end. I've replayed this more than any other God of War, and there's just so many like, oh man, I don't want to play this part sections. And the elephant in the room, the Atreus missions, I enjoyed most of them. I'm not gonna lie, I wouldn't mind an Atreus game. I'm not an Atreus hater. His gameplay was okay. It feels like they were kind of testing the waters with it, which I'm not sure Ragnarok is a game where you should be testing the waters with things like that. I feel like you should just do, I don't know. They took a bit of a risk, and it worked for the most part, in my opinion. Ironwood was ridiculous, though. That was way too drawn out. They could have cut Ironwood in half and put half of that into the Ragnarok climax. Ragnarok itself, it was super linear, closed in, and it was like really rushed. I don't mind linear games like God of War 3 and stuff like that, but I don't know how to describe it. Ragnarok, the climax itself, and there's a lot of people who agree it was just rushed and it felt very closed in. The writing was very Marvel-esque. I'm not a big fan of how they're going that route lately. It's just, I'm not a big fan of it. I feel like they should try and kind of make the writing a bit more articulate and more, more accurate to the mythology. Obviously, they're not even speaking the language that they would be speaking in the mythology, but I think everybody knows what I mean. The tone is kind of more modern-y at times, and I wasn't a huge fan, but it also wasn't a deal breaker either in God of War Ragnarok. Now, after the main story, it's one of my favorite platinums ever. It probably is my favorite platinum because the exploration is insane. The environment is breathtaking, like the crater and everything. If you haven't experienced that, please go do it. You don't have to platinum it, but just go open up the full crater of Ragnarok. Do all the side quests. They're so freaking good. And then the DLC, it was pretty much perfect. Like, it couldn't get any better. It was free. It exceeded everybody's expectations. Had a little roguelike spin on it. And it redeemed a lot of the things that Ragnarok kind of messed up on, in my opinion. It just felt like a thank you from the devs, and the reveal was so hype at the Game Awards. It was awesome. It was awesome from start to finish. It was a great little treat. And that's really all I have to say about Ragnarok. It was, in my opinion, I try so hard to call it a masterpiece, and it really is. I think you really can call it a masterpiece. I just wish the main missions were just a bit more polished. They just were a little rushed. They really took you really high, and then they would drop you kind of low with some boring segments. But other than that, the game was perfect. I think it was better than 2018 combat-wise. It was really cool. It hurts to do this, man. It's so close to God, especially with the Valhalla DLC. It's so close. But I feel like with all those things that I have to say about the main story, how can you fairly put this in God? I feel like I'll put it in Titan. I am going to put it above God of War 2, though. I don't know. You could flip this with God of War 2. I'm putting it above God of War 2. It may not make sense because I had so many bad things to say about this game, but I feel like it's just because I'm extra critical of this game. If I really wanted to go in on God of War 2 and like nitpick little things, I'm sure I could. But with Ragnarok specifically, it's just such a debatable topic. I'm way more critical of this game. So Titan tier goes top of Titan tier. I just cannot put it much higher. God of War, Sons of Sparta, the most recent God of War, and it's pretty controversial for some valid reasons. I am going to just spoil the game and completely talk about the story, so if you haven't played it yet, I would just not listen. It was okay. It wasn't great. It wasn't bad. It was just okay. It was my first Metroidvania, so I don't typically know how these games play. In terms of gameplay, I didn't have a blast. It was okay. It felt pretty limited and stuck in the mud for a God of War game. But I went into it pretty open-minded, and it was okay. Dude, the writing dragged it down. I was really disappointed with the writing. It was very Marvel-esque, like I said about Ragnarok, but 10 times worse. Was not a fan of the writing. It felt like I was watching The Sweet Life of Zack and Cody at times, the way these kids were talking in this game. I was like, aren't you guys from Greece? Like, aren't you guys Spartans? and all that stuff. Now, the tone of the game was not really violent because it was told through Kratos telling a story to his daughter Calliope, so they did tone down the violence, which, in my opinion, keep that out of the Greek saga. Do not tone down the violence, especially don't do it in the remakes, but I digress. The environment was cool, the pixel art was cool, combat was fine. You pretty much had one weapon all game, basically one combo with that one weapon. For what it was a little passion project. It was decent. I want to platinum it. I don't even know if I really can. It's definitely going to be one of those things where I'll have to force myself to. But I mean, that's all I can really think about with this game. It was just a cool little passion project. Story was okay. I actually liked how they ended it. You know, they were going out and searching for this lost Spartan boy. I liked how it ended a little dark and the boy was dead. They found him dead. I sound like a psychopath, like wishing this boy was dead, but I did like, through the very Disney-ish tone and everything, it did have a darker, grittier ending, and you know, you had to take this dead boy back to his family. It felt like a real Greek tragedy, and that's what I hope they continue to do with the Greek God of Wars. If they're going to tinker with them, is continue the Greek tragedy theme. It shouldn't be all sunshine and rainbows, in my opinion, when it comes to God of War. That is what God of War is built on, is Greek tragedy. On the other hand, I'm also not one of those people that's like, Kratos shouldn't grow and blah, 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 but I digress. I'm going into a whole side tangent. But anyway, I am going to put this in mortal tier behind Chains of Olympus, undoubtedly. It's not better than Chains of Olympus, but it is going to be ahead of Ascension, because I actually did enjoy this game more than Ascension, believe it or not. But anyway, that is every single God of War ranked, including the new Sons of Sparta. Make sure you comment what you think. Don't be afraid to share your opinion. Be somewhat nice to each other, but at the end of the day, speak your mind. I'm out of here, man. Peace.